I am going to be speaking from John chapter 5, the book of John chapter 5. And I'm going to be dealing with the pool of Bethesda and talking about the paralyzed man, the impotent man who lay at the pool of Bethesda, waiting for what he believed was an angel to stir up the water in the pool. And the belief that whoever entered the pool when the water was, quote unquote, stirred up by the angel would be healed of all of their ailments. So in John chapter 5, I'm going to take up beginning at verse 1. And it says, "After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in the Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. And in these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was made well of whatever disease he had." Verse 5. "Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he already had been in that condition for a long time, he said to him, 'Do you want to be made well?' The sick man answered him." Again, John chapter 5, verse 7. "The sick man answered him, 'Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool. And when the water is stirred, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred. But while I am coming, someone else steps in before me.' Jesus said to him, 'Rise up, take up your bed and walk.' And immediately the man was made well. He took up his bed and he walked. And that day was the Sabbath. And the Jews therefore said to him who was cured, 'It is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed.' And then he answered them and he said, 'He who made me well said to me, "Take up your bed and walk." Then they asked him, 'Who is this man who said to you, "Take up your bed and walk"?' But the one who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn to a multitude, being out of that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, 'See, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you.' The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well." So this is the context of what I wanted to talk to you about. So first here you have Jesus leaving this feast and he goes up to Jerusalem in verse 1. John chapter 5 and verse 1. Jesus goes up to Jerusalem. Jerusalem means the city of peace. And the city of peace is where God's people are. The city of peace. So Jesus came as he did and as he was common to do as it was common for him to do, was to go amongst his people, to do his great works, works that he came here to do at the behest and the will of his Father. So here he now appears in Jerusalem by the sheep gate. And he appears near this pool, which is called Bethesda, and it has 5 porches or 5 colonnades. The sheep gate is also referred to as the sheep market. So the word gate here is also synonymous with market, the sheep market. And this was the gate through which the sheep were brought in to be examined to determine whether or not they could be sold for offerings in the temple sacrifices. It was here where the sheep were determined whether or not they were clean, whether or not they were without blemish. They had to be without blemish if they could be found acceptable to be offered in the temple sacrifices, to find out whether or not they could be sold for use in the ceremonial rites of the day. So this is the sheep gate. And Christ comes to this gate. He goes where the sheep are. And he finds this pool, this Bethesda pool. And he finds there many folks who lay around this pool. And it says in verse 3 that they were a great multitude of people. They were sick. They were blind. They were lame. They were paralyzed. And they were waiting for the moving of the water. Now remember, I have already stated that this was the gate through which sheep were brought in to be determined if they were without blemish, so that they could be used for sacrifices. And if they were found to be with blemish, they obviously could not be used. Now here you have men laying here at the pool of Bethesda near the sheep gate, lame, blind, halt, and paralyzed. And some amongst these people are sheep, or these sheep here are humans. And they are with blemish. They are riddled